In July 2025, Kyiv's uneasy calm shattered, not by a missile but by an assassin's bullet. A decorated Ukrainian officer was killed in broad daylight, a chilling message from Moscow: no one is untouchable. This was a direct attack on Ukraine's intelligence leadership, meant to instill fear and chaos at the heart of the capital. The assassination exposed the shadow war raging beyond the front lines: spies, saboteurs, and hit squads operating in the city's shadows. The SBU, Ukraine's security service, was rocked by the loss, but the demand for justice was immediate and fierce. How could Russian agents strike so boldly in Kyiv? The pressure was on to respond, fast and forcefully. What followed was a high-stakes manhunt, blending classic detective work with cutting-edge surveillance. The mission: find the killers, restore control, and send a message back to the Kremlin. The victim, Colonel Ivan Voronich, was no ordinary officer. He was a legend within Ukraine's intelligence circles, a man whose reputation for daring and ingenuity had spread far beyond the country's borders. Voronich was the mastermind behind some of Ukraine's most daring covert operations, orchestrating missions that required nerves of steel and a mind for strategy. His operations had crippled Russian supply lines, destroyed billions in enemy assets, and disrupted Moscow's plans time and again, making him a top target for the Kremlin's wrath. Russian media branded him a chief saboteur, painting him as the architect of chaos behind enemy lines and fueling a propaganda campaign that made his name infamous across Russia. According to Ukrainian sources, his assassination was reportedly ordered by Putin himself, a chilling testament to how seriously Moscow viewed the threat he posed. Just weeks earlier, Voronich had played a pivotal role in planning Operation Spiderweb, a bold strike that destroyed several Russian spy planes on the ground, a devastating blow to Russian intelligence capabilities and a major victory for Ukraine. On the day of his murder, Voronich was simply leaving his Kyiv apartment with shopping bags in hand, unaware that his every move was being watched by professional killers lying in wait. 5 shots rang out at point-blank range from a silenced pistol. This was no random act of violence, but a meticulously planned and executed professional hit. The assassins had studied his routine for days, maybe weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to strike and then vanishing into the shadows before anyone could react. Voronich's death left a gaping hole in Ukraine's intelligence community, sending shockwaves through his colleagues and allies, but it also galvanized them with a new sense of purpose. Their grief quickly turned to resolve. The hunt for his killers began immediately, and a vow was made that Moscow would pay dearly for this brazen act. The SBU's response would be swift and uncompromising, as Ukraine's intelligence services prepared to strike back with everything they had. The assassins were no amateurs, they were FSB operatives, handpicked by Moscow for this mission. Zakharny Gulelizadeh and Narman Gulieva, foreign nationals, blended easily into Kyiv's diverse crowds. Their operation was meticulously planned. Weeks of surveillance, learning Voronich's habits, waiting for the right moment. Their FSB handler supplied them with a silenced pistol via a hidden cache in the city, a classic spy tactic. After the hit, they vanished into a prearranged safe house, confident they'd pulled off the perfect crime. But they underestimated the SBU's speed and determination. The Ukrainian security services quickly pieced together the puzzle, combining forensics, witness accounts, and surveillance footage. The assassins believed they could disappear, but the net was already closing in. Their mission: eliminate a key Ukrainian officer and escape. The reality: they'd triggered a relentless manhunt. The SBU was closing in fast. Within just hours of the shocking murder, Ukraine's security service, the SBU, sprang into action, launching a sweeping, citywide manhunt. The operation was placed under the direct command of Lieutenant General Vasyl Malyuk, who personally oversaw every detail from the command center, determined to bring the perpetrators to justice. Elite counterintelligence teams and tactical units were mobilized across Kyiv. Checkpoints sprang up at key intersections, while heavily armed officers patrolled the streets. Surveillance was ramped up to unprecedented levels, with every available resource focused on tracking down the killers. At the crime scene, investigators worked methodically, scouring for any clue. Shell casings, fingerprints, stray fibers, or even the smallest trace the assassins might have left behind. Forensic teams collected evidence late into the night, determined not to miss a single detail. Simultaneously, teams of analysts began pulling security footage from every camera in the area. They pored over hours of video, searching for any suspicious movements or unfamiliar faces that might lead them to the suspects. The breakthrough came when 2 figures, a man and a woman, were spotted lingering near Voronich's building both before and after the attack. Their behavior immediately raised red flags for investigators. Using advanced facial recognition software and cross-referencing intelligence databases, the SBU quickly identified the pair as Zakharny Gulalizade and Narman Gulieva, both with suspected ties to foreign intelligence. With names and faces in hand, the SBU shifted focus to tracking their every move. Agents monitored their communications, traced financial transactions, and activated a network of informants across the city to gather any possible leads. Every available resource was thrown into the hunt. Digital footprints, intercepted messages, and physical sightings were all pieced together, bringing the net ever tighter around the suspects. The SBU knew the killers would try to stay invisible, blending into the city's shadows. But even the most disciplined operatives can slip up, and the agents were watching for any mistake. It became a race against time. Find the safe house before the trail went cold, and before the suspects could vanish for good. Kyiv was effectively locked down, streets emptied, checkpoints tightened, and a tense atmosphere gripped the city as the search intensified. The SBU was relentless. For them, failure was not an option. Justice for Voronek and the safety of Kyiv depended on it. 3 tense days after the assassination, the SBU's relentless investigation finally led them to a quiet, unassuming house in Kyiv Oblast. The neighborhood, usually peaceful and untouched by violence, was suddenly thrust into the center of a high-stakes manhunt. The assassins had chosen a nondescript hideout, hoping to blend in with the local residents and wait out the search. Their plan was to disappear into the background, trusting that the calm streets would shield them from suspicion. But the SBU's Alpha Special Forces, the same elite unit once led by Voronek, had tracked them down. The team moved with precision, surrounding the house in the early morning hours, determined not to let the suspects escape. The team advanced, weapons raised, issuing a clear command to surrender. Their voices echoed through the stillness, giving the assassins one final chance to give up peacefully. Instead, the assassins responded with gunfire, choosing to fight rather than be captured alive. Bullets tore through the walls and windows, shattering the silence of the neighborhood. A fierce close-quarters firefight erupted, sending shockwaves through the quiet suburb. The exchange was intense and chaotic, with both sides unleashing a hail of bullets in a desperate struggle for survival. The Alpha team responded with overwhelming force and discipline, breaching the house and quickly neutralizing the threat inside. Their training and resolve proved decisive in the chaos. Both Gulalizade and Gulieva were killed resisting arrest, refusing to surrender until the very end. The aftermath was grim, with the cost of violence laid bare on the suburban street. The SBU had delivered justice, not in a courtroom, but in a hail of gunfire and shattered glass. Investigators moved in, collecting evidence and marking the end of a deadly chapter. The hit squad was eliminated, and the message was unmistakable. Ukraine would not tolerate attacks on its defenders. The operation sent a powerful warning to anyone who might threaten the nation's security. The Shadow War had claimed more lives, but this time Ukraine struck back with resolve and determination, showing the world that its defenders would not fall without a fight. In the aftermath, SBU Chief Vasyl Malyuk addressed the nation and Moscow. He confirmed the assassins had been found and eliminated after resisting arrest. His words were blunt: the scum were eliminated. This language was deliberate, stripping the FSB agents of any legitimacy and branding them as criminals. Malik's message was clear: Ukraine would meet brutality with unflinching strength. He warned Russian agents, "The only future for the enemy on Ukrainian territory is death." This was not just rhetoric, it was a new policy for the Shadow War. No more arrests or prisoner exchanges for assassins, only elimination. Ukrainian officials hailed the operation as a major counterintelligence victory. The SBU had proven it could defend the state, even in the shadows. The Kyiv assassination was just one episode in Russia's sprawling shadow war across Ukraine and Europe. Since the invasion, Russian espionage, sabotage, and assassination plots have surged. Moscow deploys sleeper agents, recruits locals, and orchestrates attacks to destabilize Ukraine and its allies. The SBU claims to thwart most of these plots, but the threat is constant and evolving. Russian operations extend beyond Ukraine: arson in Estonia, suspected spies in Azerbaijan, and more. These acts are designed to spread fear, disrupt societies, and undermine trust in government. The elimination of the FSB hit squad was a rare public victory in this hidden war. Ukraine's message: it is fighting and winning in the shadows. The SBU's swift elimination of the FSB assassins was more than revenge. It was a turning point. It boosted morale, proving Ukraine could protect its own and punish its enemies. For Moscow, the cost of sending agents into Kyiv just skyrocketed. The operation showcased Ukraine's intelligence and special forces as world-class, earning respect from allies and adversaries alike. It sent a clear deterrent: future assassins may not return home. Most importantly, it showed Ukraine's unbreakable will to resist. Russia tried to sow fear. Ukraine answered with strength. The war in the shadows is far from over, but Ukraine has shown it will fight back, every time. In this silent, deadly conflict, Ukraine stands defiant, determined, and unbowed. And